The wind didn't just howl across the Svalbard tundra. It screamed, carrying the jagged edges of ice crystals that scoured anything left exposed. Inside his small, salt-crusted research cabin, Elias sat by the kerosene heater, the low orange glow the only thing keeping the encroaching Arctic blackness at bay. He was a man of few words, a biologist who preferred the company of silence, but tonight, the silence was broken by a sound that didn't belong to the wind. It was a heavy, rhythmic thud against the wooden porch, a weight that made the entire cabin groan. Elias grabbed his heavy parka and a high-powered flashlight. He expected a structural collapse from the shifting permafrost or perhaps a wandering reindeer seeking shelter. He did not expect what he saw when the door creaked open. Bathed in the warm spill of light from the doorway stood a colossus of the north. A female polar bear, her fur matted and yellowed against the pristine white of the fresh snowfall, stood on her hind legs. She towered over Elias, a predator that could end his life with a single swipe. But she didn't roar, she didn't charge. Instead, she held her paws near her chest in a gesture that looked hauntingly human, a posture of supplication. Her dark, obsidian eyes didn't flash with hunger, they were clouded with a glassy, profound exhaustion. As Elias lowered his flashlight, the beam hit the snow at the bear's feet. There, curled into a fragile, shivering ball, lay a cub. The sight was gut-wrenching. The cub was emaciated, its ribcage visible through thin, patchy fur. It wasn't just cold, it was starving. The sea ice had retreated earlier than usual this year, cutting off the mother's access to the seal colonies. She had used every ounce of her own fat reserves to produce milk, but the well had run dry. She had brought her dying child to the only other living soul for miles. "I can't," Elias whispered, his breath hitching in the sub-zero air. He knew the laws of the Arctic. Do not interfere, let nature take its course. But as the mother bear let out a low, broken moan, a sound of pure maternal grief, the scientist in Elias died, and the human took over. He ducked back inside, heart hammering against his ribs. He grabbed a heavy wool blanket and a container of high-protein seal oil and dried fish he kept for his sled dogs. When he stepped back out, the mother bear hadn't moved. She watched him with a terrifying intelligence, stepping back just enough to give him space to approach the cub. Elias knelt in the snow. The cub's breathing was shallow, its pulse a faint, stuttering drumbeat. He wrapped the blanket around the small body, the warmth of the cabin-heated wool causing the cub to let out a tiny, high-pitched whimper. With a steady hand, Elias began to drop small amounts of the oil into the cub's mouth. Minutes felt like hours. The mother bear stood like a white sentinel, a ghost in the dark, watching the man save what she could not. Slowly, the cub's shivering lessened. Its eyes flickered open, cloudy but conscious. Elias placed the bowl of fish near the mother. She sniffed it, then looked at him. In that moment, the barrier between species vanished. There was no predator, no prey, only two parents of the earth recognizing a shared struggle for survival. As the first hint of a bruised purple dawn broke over the horizon, the cub found the strength to stand on wobbly, uncertain legs. The mother nudged her child gently, then turned her head toward Elias one last time. She didn't bow or thank him in a way a human would, but the stillness in the air spoke volumes. They moved off into the white haze of the morning, the cub wrapped in a lingering scent of wood smoke and wool. Elias stood on his porch until they were nothing more than two specks against the infinite ice. He was a scientist who had broken every rule, but as he watched the mother lead her child toward the distant, freezing coast, he knew he had finally understood the most important law of all, mercy.